excited today. And you know, guys, when I am excited, I'm about to drop a great video about the land we all love. Today's video is from another world, guys. So welcome to this channel where we spread love and positive vibes. Thank you so much, you who have subscribed to our channel, you who has liked our videos, you who take your time and comment to us, motivate us, tell us we are doing a great job. I appreciate that so much. Hey, guys, I always tell you that Jamaica will never cease to amaze us. Jamaica will never cease to make us wonder how have they managed to go this far? How did they manage to be the leading people in the whole world? You may wonder, Lam, what are you talking about? This video will teach you how great Jamaicans are. They actually paved a way for most of the black people to go to United Kingdom, to go to Canada, to go to United States of America and be accepted and live in peace. It is the Jamaican people that actually brought about the settling of the black people in UK, the black people in Canada, the black people in United States of America. We are going to go through some of the people who did great work after they arrived in United Kingdom, after they arrived in United States of America, and some who arrived in Canada and paved the way for the black people, the Africans, the black Americans, the Caribbeans to go to those countries. I could not believe this news. They are big news to us. Now, apart from that, we are going to see the great work Jamaicans have done to make the world a better place to be, to make the world a great world like it is right now. Now, without further ado, let me just go to the video and enlighten you on the great role Jamaicans people played to pave way for the black people in United Kingdom, in United States of America, and even in Canada. They were the first pioneers. They were the first people to arrive in United Kingdom, and they actually fought, persevered, went through a lot of suffering, so that when the other black people came, they found already a settled people, a people who had fought for them, a people who had persevered for them, a people who had struggled for them, and they found a place to settle and stay. By the way, guys, I will put you a clip of one of the Nigerians who is actually a doctor. Is it doctor or a lecturer in United Kingdom who actually confesses that Jamaicans are actually the ones who paved the way for most black people to come and settle in the United Kingdom. But before we go through the video, I want us to look at one of the pioneers, one of the first people to go to United Kingdom, and he really fought a good fight. He really struggled. He really fought against racism and injustice so that the black people can have a good stay in United Kingdom afterwards. So without further ado, let me go to one of the people that actually played a very great role, and he was one of the pioneers that arrived in England and paved the way for us, or for the others, black people, to actually go to England, have a great time, live in peace, and enjoy their stay in England. His name was Dr. Harold Moody. Dr. Harold Moody moved to England in 1904. And in 1931, he co-founded the League of Colored People, LCP, a pressure group whose aim or whose purpose were to highlight the problems and the success of black people so that he can actually challenge racial discrimination and to fight for equality. So the purpose of Dr. Harold Moody was to actually fight for justice. We have always talked about Jamaicans have something in their blood that cries loudly when they find injustice. We have talked about the way the people of Jamaica have constantly fought against discrimination, against injustice, against people being oppressed. And therefore, Dr. Moody was one of the people that pioneered going to England, and he immediately started fighting against racism, discrimination, and equality. And I want to say, there are some people who say that Jamaicans could be the people of Israel that we read in the Bible. Because, by the way, somehow, I tend to believe this story because Jamaicans have another courage I've not seen with most people. They have a unique way of doing things and they always succeed. They have a way of refusing oppression and they have a way of winning battles that are so great for them. Do you know we read the people of Israel could actually conquer people who are stronger than them. Remember in one of the stories of the Bible, we are told that the Israelites went to actually survey the land of Canaan. And when they went there, the people who came back reported that the people who were in Canaan before the Israelites conquered were giants and they were just like grasshoppers before them. Guys, I'm telling you this story so that you can actually relate the people of Jamaica with the current Israelites. And therefore, Moses, Caleb, and the readers who are reading the Israelites told people it does not matter that these people are giants because the force that is backing us, the force that is with us, the God who is leading us is greater than the gods of the Canaanite people. And therefore, you know the story. They conquered the land of Canaan and they won and they occupied the land flowing with milk and honey. We have seen the country of Jamaica. It actually flows with milk and honey. It is so productive. It is so blessed. It is so beautiful. Apart from that, can you imagine a Jamaican moving to England where there are so many people, the white people, and actually managing to fight together with others against racism, against discrimination, against unequalness, and manages to pressure these people to actually treat people like human beings? Don't you think this is something that is beyond a small country like Jamaica? It's something that is backed by another force. And that is why I want to say Jamaicans are special people, blessed people, people who actually do extraordinary things. I'm not just saying this for views or for praising Jamaica, but I can give you evidence, and I think I'll shoot a video of why Jamaicans are able to conquer and actually occupy and actually lead while others are not able. I think I'll shoot a video and give you evidence that Jamaicans are actually supported or backed by a force that we cannot comprehend. So guys, let me continue with the story of Harold Moody. So we have seen he arrived in England in 1931 and started fighting against discrimination and racism. He was the editor of the Keys, which was quarterly Jamaica it was a quarterly journal of the LCP. Remember LCP, I've talked about it. It was a group that was, or rather a movement that was called the Ring of Colored People. And therefore he could write a journal, and he was actually the editor of that journal that was a journal of the LCP. He influenced the race relationship in 1965. So he actually one of the people who influenced the Race Relationship Act in 1965, the first registration in the UK to prohibit discrimination on the ground of color, on the ground of race, on the ground of ethnicity or national origins. So guys, you can see what I'm talking about. This is a single man, comes from Jamaica, goes to a country where the majority are whites, and actually he is able to actually influence the Race Relations Act in 1965, and the purpose of this act was to actually prohibit. It was actually the first registration in the United Kingdom, and it was to prohibit discrimination on the ground of color, on the ground of race, on the ground of ethnicity, and also on the ground of the national origins. The act saw the introduction of the Office of Incitement to Racial Hatred and led to the creation of the Race Relations Board in 1966. You can see the great achievement that Moody is actually achieving in a rad that does not belong to him, in a rad that has the majority being white, and therefore they were very much against this happening, but Moody managed to actually make this act be passed, and also achieved a lot of great freedom by the passing of this act, and a lot of equality by the passing of this act. So we have seen that the act saw the introduction of the Office of Incitement to Racial Hatred and led to the creation of the Race Relationships Board in 1966. And therefore this office was to ensure people are not discriminated against because of their ethnicity, because of the place they have come from, because of their color, because of the language they speak. And therefore Moody did great work to actually pave way for other black people that were to come to United Kingdom. And that is why I started by saying, actually, Jamaica has played a very great role to the people that live in UK currently, the people that live in Canada currently, and the people that live in US currently, to be able to live without discrimination, without abuses, without being mistreated, because of the fight that were posed by these great men from Jamaica. Apart from that, we have another great man. This man has some relationship here in Kenya. And apart from the relations we have with him here in Kenya, he's also fought a lot in the country, in diasporas, to ensure that the black people live in peace and live without being discriminated, without being unequally treated. His name was Dudley Joseph Thompson. Dudley Joseph Thompson was born in 1917 and was a Pan-Africanist. He was a lawyer by career, he was a politician, and he joined the Royal Air Force during World War II and became one of its black pilots. Actually, he was the first black pilot in the Royal Air Force. And this was a great achievement for this Jamaican man to actually become the first pilot in the Royal Air Force during his time. He became a Rhodes Scholar, pursuing a lot of things in Oxford University. Actually, he was pursuing jurisprudence at Oxford University. In 1952, he led the legal team that defended Jomo Kenyatta. That is why I started by saying this guy, Dudley Joseph Thompson, we have a lot to tell him thank you about. You can see that he was a black person from Jamaica. He was a Pan-Africanist, and therefore he actually studied and came. In 1952, he led the legal team to defend Jomo Kenyatta, who was actually a fighter against colonial masters. He was actually fighting for freedom. And Jomo Kenyatta happens to be our first president here in Kenya. So, Thompson played a very, very great role in making sure Jomo Kenyatta was released from prison, leading the legal team that was representing Jomo Kenyatta. Jomo Kenyatta was charged by the British authorities with instigating the Mau Mau uprising. So he was charged for actually inciting the Mau Mau movement, and I want to explain what the Mau Mau movement was, because I know most of you that watch me are from Jamaica, and therefore you might not be knowing what the Mau Mau uprising was all about. The Mau Mau uprising was a group that had been organized in the central region of Kenya, where I come from, to fight against colonialism. And these people were fighting guerrilla wars. And I'll come to a point whereby I will show you that guerrilla wars started in Jamaica and they spread to other African countries so that the people can fight against colonialism. So the Jamaican people were actually the pioneer of guerrilla wars through Nani the Maroon, and the Maroon people who are fighting the British people to free the Jamaican people from slavery. So in 1952, Udri, or rather Thompson, led the legal team that defended Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, who had been accused of instigating the Mau Mau uprising group. And therefore he was charged, and those days, if you are charged of leading a group that was against colonial masters, you could be killed. Like we hear Dedan Kimathi, one of the freedom fighters in Kenya, was actually hanged and killed because of being against the colonial masters. And therefore, we can actually say, without fear of contradiction, that Thompson saved or spared Jomo Kenyatta's life. And actually it is said so. Kenyatta actually later credited him for saving his life. He also championed independence movements in British regions where the British people were actually colonizing. So this guy, he did not just pioneer the freedom of Jomo Kenyatta, he also pioneered or championed independence movements in British Honduras, like the Belize. Belize is one of the countries in the Caribbean, and the Bahamas. So he actually assisted the people of Belize and the people of Bahamas to actually attain their independence. I told you that Jamaican people have actually done a lot to the African people, to the Caribbean countries, and also to the diaspora, where they fought for people to live in free, without being discriminated, without facing racism, without facing unequalness in the regions they were staying. So apart from having Mzee Jomo Kenyatta being released from prison, this man, Thompson, assisted Belize and the Bahamas to actually attain independence. The African Union declared him the title of Regent of Africa because of the role he played to ensure most of the African countries attained independence. So the African Union, which is actually an organization of all the African countries, recognized Thompson and actually gave him the title, the Regent of Africa. And he was given a medal in recognition of his contribution to the African countries in that same year. In 2006, Thompson was given or recognized in Ghana. He was given the title a living Regent of Africa in Ghana, alongside other figures like Nelson Mandela and Kofi Annan. These are great men that actually did a lot of contribution to the peace of Africa, to the independence of Africa, to see Africa being freed, and to see Africa being independent and growing as a sovereign countries. So they were given a recognition in Ghana together with Mandela and Kofi Annan. This man did a lot of work, and he assisted a lot to see the African countries being independent, and also to see other Caribbean countries being independent. I told you, Jamaicans have played a very, very great role both in the Caribbean islands, in Africa, and even in the diaspora. Jamaicans were the first black immigrants in the United States of America to actually embrace their culture. We have talked about the Jamaican culture, and actually we also saw in Canada, they went there as immigrants and they could not let go their culture, their party, Jamaican party, and they actually rioted until their Jamaican party was retained their names. So they are the first black people to actually fight for their culture, to actually embrace their culture, and actually make other people recognize their culture and actually respect their culture. Apart from that, Jamaicans have achieved a lot, both in the diaspora and in the black countries around. Guys, before I go to the other achievements that Jamaicans have achieved, allow me to show you the video of this Nigerian man that talks about Jamaicans paving way for black people to enter United Kingdom and other diaspora countries. So have a look at this video and then I'll come back.
Credit to who credit is given, you know. The Jamaicans were the first generation of black people that came with Windrush into this country. And shout out to them because they also had to deal with a lot of stuff. When Jamaicans were in this country and they came in 1957, there are many venues that would put up outside, no Irish, dogs. No blacks, no dogs. It happened in this country.
Yeah.
They were the first generation that had to deal with that. So you get at times this little animosity between the Caribbean, not even Caribbean, mostly Jamaican and Nigerian. It's a power thing. You get it? Peter Tosh said, it doesn't matter where you come from.
Right.
As long as you're a black man, you're an African.
You're African.
It doesn't, when you go to those places, you just start to see the similarities. All this whole divide and rule that the West create, we need to rise above it and realize this, we are all one.
So, let's go on with the achievements that Jamaicans have had in Caribbean and also in Africa and also outside the black people realm. Jamaicans went to Nova Scotia from Jamaica to fight in Canada to help the natives. So you can imagine, apart from pioneering in paving way for the African people or for the black people that went to UK, that went to Canada, that went to US, they actually went to Nova Scotia, all the way from Jamaica to fight in Canada to help the natives. Jamaicans were also the pioneers of ending slavery together with Haiti. We usually talk about the Jamaicans in the 18th century. They were actually very active in fighting the people who were enslaving them and refusing enslavement by their slave masters. We have talked about it. We have talked about Nani and all the people that were actually sacrificing their lives to fight for freedom in Jamaica and actually Haiti. Haiti was the first country to actually free itself from slavery, and also Jamaica. So they were actually the first pioneer of ending slavery in their respective lands. They practiced guerrilla wars that were taken by other countries to fight against colonial rule. I have just told you that here in Kenya, the Mau Mau group were fighting using guerrilla tactics. And these guerrilla tactics were actually passed to us from Jamaica. Remember that Jamaica, Nani the Maroon, were fighting the British colonial masters in the 18th century. While here in Kenya, we were fighting the British colonial rule in the 19th century. And therefore, most of us, the African countries, copied the guerrilla war from the Maroon people. And we can actually say Jamaica showed us how to fight the colonial masters without weapons, but we could be able to subdue them using the guerrilla tactics. Oh my God, these achievements are so many that I don't think I can be able to complete all of them. Apart from that, we usually hear the history of the Notting Hills riot. Guys, have you ever heard about the Notting Hills riot? This was a fight by the Teddy Boys of R.A.M. They were calling themselves the Teddy Boys of R.A.M., who had formed gangs to fight against black people. When the Jamaican people heard this, they could not sit down when their fellow black people were being fought. And therefore, the Jamaican people, men and women, went, this war had gone on for 2 years. By the third year, the Jamaican people heard about the Teddy Boys, and they enraged, and they responded to the Teddy Boys. And I guess you know what happened. The Teddy Boys were subdued, and therefore the black people were free, and they could not be fought again. We have had Jamaicans reading wars in Panama, in Hollywood, not wars, reading in the construction of the Panama Canal, the Hollywood. They were actually the people that were being taken to do the construction in these places, and therefore they are the pioneer of the construction of Hollywood, the construction of the Panama Canal that is being fought about by the United States of America currently through Trump. They even started industrialization. Actually, they were the first to start industrial revolution. Jamaicans started the industrial revolution. You cannot believe it. Because the slaves that were brought from Africa, the scientists who are there, the builders who are there, the botanists who are there, were the ones that were being used by the British people to do most of the work. And therefore, they are actually the pioneer of industrial revolution. We usually read a story, or rather we are told, or rather we know, that the tempered iron was started by a slave that was brought from Africa, who was actually a Jamaican. And this slave started the tempered iron, which was, they were built for a factory by a slave master. So all these people who are experts in tempered iron, they were built a factory by a slave master. And one of the pirates came to this factory and see the great work that the slaves were doing. He went back to England, copied the way of these people, what they were doing with the iron, stole the invention, took it to England. Soldiers were sent to come and steal the plant patent, and they took it back to England. And this is the great revolution in Britain. It is the great industrial revolution in Britain. So they stole the innovation, used it, and this brought about a lot of power in Britain and a lot of recognition in Britain. I cannot even be able to finish the role Jamaica has played to make the world great. About athletics, most of the participants in these great countries, Britain, United States of America, Canada, they are actually from Jamaica. Every person that has gained a name, every person that has gained a title, they owe it to the Jamaican people. And therefore, guys, I think this video will be too long, but it is worth to talk about the contribution of Jamaican people in making the world great and making the world a better place to live in. Bye-bye. See you during the next video. God bless.